Hello, today I'm going over carbon-based molecules lecture. So this is an introduction to the four major macromolecules that we talk about when we discuss living things. And it just happens to be that each one of them is based on the atom carbon. So that's why we say carbon-based. Okay, carbon atoms are often called the building blocks of life because they form the basis of most molecules found in living things. So the ones that we're going to go over, you'll find them in humans, you'll find them in plants, you'll find them in bacteria. They have unique bonding properties due to their four unpaired electrons, which allow each carbon atom to form strong covalent bonds with up to four other atoms, including other carbon atoms. So if you take a look at this is a carbon atom, and the four that they're talking about are these ones in this outer ring. Each one of these electrons can pair up with another electron in another atom and form a bond. These bonds enable carbon to create complex molecular structures like straight chains, branched chains, and rings, which are essential for life. So not all atoms can do this. Not all atoms have these four electrons on the outside. In many carbon-based molecules, smaller subunits called monomers link together to form a larger molecule called a polymer. So very easily described here in this image, we have monomers, which are small building blocks, and they link together to form a polymer, which is a much larger structure. The process is similar to how a chain is formed from individual links. These polymers or macromolecules can be made of identical monomers as seen in starches, or they can be composed of different types of monomers, as is the case with proteins. So all they're saying is like, are you using the exact same building block each time? Or are you using two different building blocks or three different building blocks, but still linking them all together? Different macromolecules have different structures in that sense. Carbohydrates are found in food like fruits and grains are molecules made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And you'll see that here, carbons, hydrogens, oxygens. Those three are the main atoms. These compounds, which include sugars and starches, serve as a vital source of usable energy for cells and are also a key component of plant cell structure. The simplest carbohydrates are monosaccharides, such as glucose and fructose, which are simple sugars that can bond together to form more complex carbohydrates. So you've heard of this stuff before, probably. Glucose, starches were up here, starches there, or complex carbohydrates. These are things that we use for energy. And we can also get energy from proteins and fats, but most of our energy comes from carbohydrates, the energy that's trapped in the carbohydrates. Larger carbohydrates are known as polysaccharides. And they include starches, glycogen, and cellulose. While starches and glycogen are used for energy storage in plants and animals respectively, cellulose has a different straight and rigid structure that makes it a major building block for the tough cell walls of plants. Okay, so they're just talking about the different types that we're going to find now of carbohydrates. As you get into these larger structures, complex carbohydrates, they can be built for different purposes. Where they were talking about cellulose in plants, well, that has to be rigid structures, straight and rigid, because they're used for structures in plants, not used for like energy harvesting. We're not trying to get energy from them. We're trying to make plant structures with them. Or in the case of humans, if it's something else, we're making structures in humans, not cellulose, however. This structural difference also makes cellulose difficult for many organisms to break down, which is why it's tough to chew and digest, as seen in vegetables like celery. So again, that cellulose, because it's so good at building the structures of the plant, part of that property is that it's hard for animals to break them down, digest them, and get energy from them. All right, next one is lipids. These are your fats. Lipids are nonpolar molecules that include fats, oils, and cholesterol. Nonpolar, we'll come back to that, but if something has a positive end or a negative end, that is polar, like the poles of the Earth. If it has no charge on either end, that's nonpolar. So lipids are considered nonpolar, not having a charge on either end. Like carbohydrates, they are composed of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms. Lipids serve two main functions in organisms. They can be broken down for usable energy, or they can be used to form parts of a cell's structure. Cell structure really comes up a lot. So this is the skin of a cell right here. And all these red structures you see with these yellow tails, those are all lipids. They form the boundary of all of our cells. Fats and oils are types of lipids that store large amounts of chemical energy. They are composed of a glycerol molecule bonded to 3 fatty acids, forming a structure known as a triglyceride. I don't have that structure here, but you do see something that involves lipids, which is something called saturated and unsaturated, which we'll get to. But those tails that they were talking about, the triglycerides, these are the tails that we're talking about. A key difference between fats and oils is their level of saturation. Saturated fats have fatty acid chains with only single bonds between carbon atoms. So that's here, single bond, single bond, single bond, single, 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 single. That's saturated. And it also means that there is a hydrogen attached at every point along this chain. Okay. While unsaturated fats have at least one double bond, which creates kinks in the fatty acid chain. One double bond here means it's unsaturated, no hydrogens coming off of there. So the chain kinks, it's not straight like the saturated. This difference in structure explains why animal fats are typically solid and plant oils are liquid at room temperature. You could think of like lard, which is used for cooking, is solid at room temperature, but vegetable oil is a liquid at room temperature, okay? All right, the third one is proteins. Proteins are highly diverse polymers that play a crucial role in many biological processes, including movement, digestion, and vision. These polymers are made from monomers called amino acids, which are molecules containing carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes sulfur. So we have talked about monomers. Remember, monomers are just the single building block, and the polymers are the larger structure made up of those monomers. So amino acids are just a monomer. They're just like a single building block. There are 20 different types of amino acids, 12 of which can be produced by the human body, with the rest obtained from food. Amino acids link together through peptide bonds to form long chains called polypeptides. We keep seeing this poly. Poly is many. And a protein consists of one or more of these chains. So a protein is going to be made up of at least one of these polypeptides, if not more. The unique structure and function of each protein are determined by the specific sequence and number of its amino acids. So it's the amino acids, the order that they show up in, dictate the function of that protein. If we change the order of the amino acids, then we change the function of the protein. Interactions between the amino acid side groups, such as the formation of hydrogen bonds or bonds between sulfur atoms, cause the polypeptide chain to fold into a specific 3D shape. And even a single incorrect amino acid can drastically alter this structure and prevent the protein from functioning properly. This is what we see with mutations that cause cancer. The cancer causes a mutation, which means you get the incorrect amino acid, and that protein doesn't function properly anymore. Okay, that's mutations cause this to happen. Now, in some cases, some specialized cases, that change, which occurred on accident, can be beneficial. We get to that in evolution. All right, and the last of the macromolecules of these carbon-based molecules is nucleic acid. Nucleic acids are extremely long polymers that store the instructions for building proteins. They are made of monomers called nucleotides, so they keep giving us the monomers that we are used to seeing. Each composed of a sugar, a phosphate group, and a nitrogen-containing base. So here's a DNA, and we have the sugar here. We have the phosphate bases, and then we have the nitrogen-containing base. This is a nucleotide. So this is the monomer of DNA. There are two main types of nucleic acid, DNA and RNA. So this is DNA. RNA is slightly different. It basically is this, but cut only half of it. So either this half or this half. Unlike other carbon-based molecules like carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, nucleic acids have only one primary function: working together to make proteins. So this is what your DNA does. It works to make proteins. It's the instructions or the instruction booklet. DNA stores the genetic information that provides the code for assembling amino acids into proteins, while helping RNA carry out the protein building process. So we've got our DNA in blue here. It has the instructions. It makes an RNA here from those instructions, and then that RNA will go on to make the actual protein. This makes DNA the basis of genes and heredity. All right, I hope this answers some of your questions. If you have more, let me know. Thank you very much.